With the release of Necroids, it's time to take a look at the expansion from a high level to see whether or not it is worth your time, especially compared to the other species packs that are available. Looking at a species pack in general in a vacuum is completely impossible because, well, there are others and they have a completely different type of content release with them. For instance, Plantoids, it was originally only 15 portraits, a ship set, and a city set. And then Humanoids had 10 portraits, a ship set, a city set, a couple of advisors, and music. Lithoids, they had 16 portraits, one ship set and one city set, plus a bunch of additional traits, and now the advisor. So, with all of these three expansions in mind, how does Necroids compare? Is it any good compared to the other three? Well, first of all, I am happy to report that there is quite a lot of content in the Necroid update. The thing is with the other expansions is that they, whilst Lithoids did decide to go into the realm of adding some mechanics to the species pack by adding the traits, Necroids has really embraced this concept by adding an origin, 3 different civics, a pre-scripted empire, and a whole slew of additionals. And that basically means that rather than a complete and utter fluff pack with just cosmetics, there is also mechanics to be had here. So whether or not you are an RP player who wants to build a world with the visuals that you want, or those people that are playing with the idea of new experiences within the game and playing it a different way, Necroids really ties into that, and I'm really happy to report that that is here. So let's take a look at the lay of the land. What does Necroids actually contain? First of all, there are 16 new portraits of the Necroid variety. They are not necessarily undead, as the name implies, but they are more akin to parasites. And that is rather curious considering the naming convention behind the pack. Still, though, there is quite a lot of cool, sinister-looking portrait packs here for you to enjoy and build your empires around. Of course, visuals is really important within this game when it comes to the portrait packs, because that is what you're going to be seeing a large amount of the time. And when it comes to your immersion, it may be useful for you to have that. Then there is the ship set. I wish I could say that I loved the ship set. I want to love it, but in all honesty, it is just not up to spec compared to, say, the Lithoid ship set. It is very curvy, it's very pointy, it does have a sort of mall ninja feel to it in a certain way. I'm not a big fan of it myself, but for those of you who are still gagging for a new ship set, there is a whole array of ships here for you to enjoy, from corvettes all the way up to, of course, the Juggernaut. So please be aware of that there is a lot of stuff going on here, and of course you can play around with that. Also, the Juggernaut has a horn on it, which I guess is kind of nice. City sets are pretty standard. They've been with basically every single species pack so far. Room backgrounds, 1 origin and 3 civics. We will go into that shortly. Then there is a pre-scripted empire, which is rather curious considering the traits are not necessarily optimized for the game. But hey, if you are into the whole Jeff meme that comes with the community at the moment, then this may be something for you. In addition, there is a advisor voice, which adds a new flavor to your game and being able to be updated. It does feel very ethereal. It's not particularly Skeletor-like, but hey, it is still a advisor voice.
Death comes for first time user setup initialized. Death comes for all sapients in the end. But no one said it couldn't be led a merry chase.
No music this time around, which I think is a little bit disappointing, even though Lithoids did not have a music set, and we haven't had one in a species pack since Humanoids itself. Anyway, then there is, of course, the mechanical side of things, and I'm really happy that Paradox has decided to add origins as well as civics to this particular species pack, because it does add more flavor, and as they always say, flavor is, in fact, the spice of life. Macrophage, we've talked about this in the past already. There is a video that available that goes a little bit deeper into this, but basically what it boils down to is that you play as a parasitic organism that effectively excels at slavery types of empires. Of course, you can also play as egalitarians and never have to deal with slaves themselves, but still, it is cool to have. In addition to that, they can't really breed all that well, so pop growth is slightly on the bad side for them. However, there is a mechanic in place that allows you to uplift 3 pops of other species to your main species every 10 years, and there's a building upgrade that increases that number to 6, although that's available later in the game. The origin itself is incredibly flexible, although it's purely mechanical, so don't expect any storyline here. It's completely freeform, and it does have a bunch of cool interactions. In addition, nihilistic acquisition and barbaric despoilers may actually become feasible using this again due to the mechanics behind it. Once again, I will refer you to the mechanics video behind the Necrophage. Funnily enough, it also synergizes incredibly well with lithoids due to the bonuses that you can get. If you have the lithoid species pack, then there is really no reason for you not to play as a lithoid necrophage, because the amount of bonuses that you can get are great and there is no downsides to that, and it's just really valuable. And I really love this idea of packs synergizing with different packs and having the ability to get more value out of previous content. If you don't have lithoids, this may be a good opportunity to go ahead and pick that up, because I gave it a good review in that regard. But still, I really wish that humanoids and plantoids would get a similar retroactive treatment and getting updates as well, just to give them more value and synergize better. If this is the direction, however, that Paradox is going to go in the future, adding species packs that have these synergetic mechanics inside of them, then the value of their expansions is simply gonna go up, and I really love this idea. Civics, there's the Death Cult and Corporate Death Cult, which is effectively Aztecs in space. You have a special civic that sacrifices pops for resources, whether or not you want to have improved unity productions, happiness, or resources. Yes, you can have all of these, and it does once again add a lot of awesome flavor. The idea of being able to sacrifice pops is not necessarily new, but we haven't seen it in the official release of any of the expansions so far. So having it be here is really fun and really good. And on top of that, the mechanics are completely moddable, so expect a ton of new mods to be released using these sort of mechanics. And like I said, Corporate Death Cult is there as well, so if you have Megacorp, this just adds even more value to that expansion. And once again, flexibility is the key when it comes to that unity for that production output, because the more pops you sacrifice, the more output you're going to get, whether or not it be unity, happiness, or resources. Then there is Memorialist. I initially thought this was a particularly exciting civic. It is relatively straightforward, though. Basically, it allows you to build new buildings with new jobs that improve stability, unity production, and that is effectively that. It does tie in nicely to Spiritualist. It's very much an RP-based civic, because the bonuses you can get out of it, you can get on other places as well. But it's a nice little fluff piece to have. Finally, there is Reanimated Armies. I myself am not a fan of armies at all, the way they function, how they're integrated into the game. So in all honesty, having Reanimated Armies is just one of those things where I'm thinking by myself, just why? I understand that they wanted to add it in. It adds a new building. You can generate a new army type, but in the end, armies are not all that exciting within the grand scope of the game. Sure, it ties into the theme nicely, and of course, you can have necromancers on your worlds. That's nice flavor. And once again, for those of you who want to play with the role-playing aspect in mind, this is particularly interesting from you. For those of you who are min-maxers, probably not, because it's just a waste of a building slot on a planet. Overall, Necroids seems to be another step in the direction of improving the amount of content and quality that we're going to get out of species packs in the future. Whereas Plantoids was incredibly barren and humanoids started adding good content with lithoids on top of that adding traits, Necroids is really embracing the ability of adding mechanics to new species and new empires through its content, and I really love this direction that the devs are going to go in the future, and hopefully they actually will continue onwards into this direction. Sure, the ship set may not be as exciting as some of the other ones within the game. Sure, they do look better than the vanilla ones, but again, they're not as good as the Lithoids ones. But of course, this is in fact my opinion. So yeah, there you have it, a general review of the Necroids expansion. If you are the kind of person that loves mechanics and wants to try out new things, you can go ahead and pick this one up. And if you are the kind of person that wants to roleplay as the evil empire that is parasitic, then this is a good opportunity for you to play ahead as well. It's available for $7.99. Of course, you don't have to pick it up at that price. You can always wait for a sale to come by if this is not something that is in your wheelhouse, but you get the general idea. In addition, if you want to support the channel and also want to buy the expansion, there is a link down in the description below. It will lead yourself to the Paradox store, and by using that link and buying the expansion there, you directly support the channel here, because I will get a cut of all proceeds that are generated there. So yeah, Necroids, they are here, they are interesting, and I personally like them. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, thank you to my patrons, and make sure to take good care of yourselves as well as each other.